Oh man, what a week. What a week. This week flew by. I feel like we were just talking about Lunar New Year at the beginning of this week. Speaking of, I hope your Lunar New Year is going great. Well, off to a great start with all this fire horse energy. Mine's been good so far. I can definitely say that right now feels way better than January felt. Honestly, January and the beginning of February a little bit, it kind of felt overwhelming for me. And I think that just came from starting a whole bunch of things all at once. And what I'm realizing personally is when I start to feel overwhelmed, I need to take a step back, zoom out, and look at everything, like all the moves I'm making from a macro. In other words, it's like, why am I doing A, B, and C? Oh, that's because, this over here. Why am I doing X, Y, and Z? Oh, it's because of this right here. I need to do this for this. And I found that this helps me avoid burnout. And a lot of people think burnout comes from working too hard or, working too much. But I think burnout actually comes from losing sight of why you started working in the first place. Because you feel like you're just working just to work at that point. So by me zooming out, you get to put things back into perspective. You start to remember why you started to begin with. You remember the mission. Yeah, that's a better term for it. You remember the mission. Because it's almost like I get so caught up in the day-to-day task of accomplishing the goal that I forget what the actual goal was. So I think the key is really just keeping your goals and your mission top of mind. And you know what helps with that? Writing your goals every day. And this is why you see a lot of successful people recommend doing that because it keeps you on track. It keeps the mission top of mind, right? Man, I really need to get back to writing my goals every day. I was on a roll for so long, but I ran out of the paper in the journal that I was using, and I just never got around to ordering another journal. I'm gonna do that today. I'm gonna do that today because that was really helping me. So I highly recommend writing your goals out every day, either in the morning or in the evening or at night before you go to sleep. Hell, twice a day, morning and night is probably better to be real. But I'm gonna get back on that for sure. All right, let's get into our Friday episode. Y'all know how we do. Let's talk about our wins, our losses, and our lessons, baby. And remember how I was debating on taking the losses out? It was just going to be wins and lessons. I've decided to keep the losses in. Only because, yes, we do turn our losses into lessons, but you still have to acknowledge where you need improvement, right? And also, I don't want to turn into one of those guys who pretends that he never loses. Everybody knows a person like that. It's like you never lose at all. There's no way. Even T-Pain loses. And he got a song called All I Do Is Win. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. And I just watched the interview of T-Pain talking about how he went from having $40 million in his bank account to not even being able to afford Burger King for his kids. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a loss to me. But he acknowledged the situation he was in and he turned his loss into a lesson. And now he's back making incredible music. If T-Pain talks about his losses, who are we to say that we don't have any? Anyway, I say all that to say, yeah, we're gonna keep the losses in there, baby. First up, we got the wins. All right, one of my wins this week, I noticed that I'm getting more efficient in recording these episodes. Well, the production efficiency overall has improved, actually. And I know we're only on episode 17, but I think I'm finding my groove when it comes to pushing out 5 episodes a week consistently. Now, by no means am I saying that the show is where I want it to be. It's still finding an identity of its own, and I'm still finding my voice in this space. And I understand a lot of this is just going to take time, but I did notice less friction in the development of the show this week. The systems I put into place are running smoother than they were last week. The time it takes to record has decreased significantly. Oh, snap. I just realized I forgot to turn on my lights, my background lights. Hold on, let me turn on. What the heck? I'm sitting up here talking about the show running smoother and I'm doing things faster. Yeah, because you forgetting to do stuff, Steve. Oh, yeah, look at the show's running more efficiently. Dude, no, it ain't. Dang it. This was my only win this week. No, it's still running efficient. I'm sorry. It's still a win. Nuh-uh, I just forgot to turn the lights on. God dang it. How did I forget that? But no, like to put things into perspective, the first ever podcast episode that I recorded for this show took me 44 minutes, y'all. 44 minutes. And I don't know if you've noticed, but each show is only 9 or 10 minutes. I was messing up, man. I was saying like half thoughts. Some parts wasn't even making sense. So many retakes. One of my cameras kept cutting off. I had to freaking keep getting up every 10, 12 minutes to cut it back on. It was a mess. It was literally a mess. And after all that, I remember I sat down to rewatch the footage Y'all, no audio. No audio. I sat up there and wasted my time for 44 minutes. I was like, yo, that episode never even came out. It never came out. I guess it was just training ground. Feeling defeated is not even the term I would use. I felt soul crushed. But we got past it, and here we are, episode 17, baby. So definitely a win for me, man. We overcame adversity with that. And I actually recorded one of my fastest episodes this week. I did it in 11 minutes. So we went from 44 minutes to record one episode and having no audio to recording one episode in 11 minutes with audio and shipped it out. I'd say that's a win in my book. A win is a win. All right, moving on to losses. Man, all right, y'all. I have been struggling to hit my goal of 180 to 190 grams of protein a day. And here's the issue I'm having. Going from OMAD to eating this much is pretty challenging. And if you don't know what OMAD is, it stands for 1 meal a day. You pretty much pick a specific period and you only eat during that time. It's basically intermittent fasting. And I was doing that for a while, pretty much the whole time I was losing all that weight. So the issue I'm having now is I forget to eat because I'm not hungry. Because I've trained my body not to get hungry until the evening. So I think I'm literally gonna have to start setting alarms to tell me when to eat so I can get my body used to eating at certain times again. What happens is I'll wake up in the morning and I'll remember to eat breakfast, but throughout the day, dude, I'm busy. I'm getting it, man. I'm not even worried about food. And then the evening comes and I realize I'm like 150 grams of protein behind. And now I'm stuffing myself trying to squeeze all this protein in, all this food into my evening dinner, which is not healthy, by the way. It's like, Steve, what are you doing, man? So as a result, I have not been hitting my 180 to 190 grams of protein like I need to. So again, to fix it, I'll be setting alarms to train my body. I cannot afford to lose this muscle that I've been putting on, so the protein is crucial. And also, I've been trying to eat the same stuff every day just to make it, easier to track my macros. And also, I don't have to think about what to eat. That makes it easier. Now I just have to remember to eat. Got to keep that muscle that we built, baby. As for the lesson I learned this week, oh my gosh, y'all. Y'all ready for this? The lesson I learned this week: life does not warn you before it changes. Man, we walk around acting like we have unlimited time. Unlimited time with family, unlimited time with friends, hell, unlimited times with ourselves. We act like we have forever to become this person that we keep telling ourselves we're going to be, and we don't, y'all. This week, my sister was involved in a terrible, terrible car accident. And it's not until situations like this happens that we're reminded of that. We're reminded that we don't have that much time. Well, we don't have as much time as we think we have. And my sister's okay, by the way. She's doing fine. She's at her home. She's recovering. But the doctor and even the paramedic at the scene, they don't understand how she came out of that. Let alone came out of that without a single broken bone, y'all. Whoo, shout out to God, bruh. Man. So, and I'll explain the situation. So basically what happened was she was involved in a head-on collision, right? She was driving on a two-way street. She was probably doing about 45, 55 miles per hour. And a Jeep was coming in the opposite direction, tried to pass the car in front of them, which meant they had to swing out of their lane and go into her lane. And I guess they thought they could make it back in their lane before oncoming traffic reached them. They couldn't. They couldn't. And they ended up hitting my sister head on, doing like, man, he had to be doing probably about 55, 60. And the crazy part was there was a railing on the side of the road. So my sister couldn't even swerve off to avoid it. She just had to brace for impact. And then boom. She did not have her seatbelt on. And so because of that, she ended up flying out of the driver's seat and ended up upside down on the passenger side floor, which is, I'm sorry, that's not funny, but I'm just picturing my sister like laying upside down on the passenger side floor, like, ugh. Oh man. You should have put your seatbelt on. Shoot. But at the same time, I don't know. Because they said had she had her seatbelt on, she probably would have been pinned in the driver's side. So it probably was a good thing she didn't have her seatbelt on. That's the thing about seatbelts, man. They do work a majority of the time, but I've heard some seatbelt horror stories. There was this one lady I heard about from back home. She had her seatbelt on. She got in an accident and it like snapped her body in half, and she died on the scene. So sometimes it's good to not have your seatbelt on, but you can't predict anything like that. I'm not saying, by the way, wear your seatbelt, guys. Put your freaking seatbelt on. But I'm just saying what happened with my sister. I think it probably was a good thing that she did not have her seatbelt on. And she ended up coming out of there with no broken bones, man. Just a little scratched up, obviously, but I almost didn't have a sister, y'all. God. But yeah, man, I say all that to say life does not warn you before it changes. We should cherish every single day that we have on this earth because we do not know when it's going to be our last. That's a wrap of my week. Those are my wins, my losses, and my lessons. I'm sending you good vibes and good energy going into this weekend, and I will see you right back here on Monday. If you love this episode, send it to your friend. If you hated this episode, send it to your enemy. But as always, thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And thank you for hearing me out. Peace.